In rock, the opening track of a debut album can decide it all being forgotten overnight or becoming legend for generations. These are the 10 songs with rock's boldest first impressions, and I'm sure you'll remember at least one of them as your favorite. Astronomy Domine opened Pink Floyd's debut, The Piper, at the Gates of Dawn, with a sonic voyage unlike anything heard in 1967. It was not simply a song, it was a declaration of psychedelic exploration. The track's swirling guitars, echoes, and spoken transmissions created the sensation of being launched into another universe. What made this opener legendary was Syd Barrett's vision. His voice guided listeners through cosmic imagery, making the piece both eerie and enchanting. The band built a world where rock fused with space, blending raw energy with experimentation. It established Pink Floyd as pioneers who dared to challenge traditional song structures. The atmosphere was bold, thick with reverb and distortion, pushing the boundaries of what rock could mean. Barrett's guitar work layered texture over soundscapes that felt endless, while Rick Wright's organ painted vast galaxies. Listeners were not just hearing music, they were experiencing an interstellar trip. This opening track left a permanent mark on rock history. Its power lay in its ambition and its willingness to sound different. Astronomy Domine remains a perfect introduction to a band destined to change rock forever. R.E.M. burst into the scene with Radio Free Europe on their debut Murmur. From the very first jangling chords, it was clear this band carried a fresh, raw energy. The opener captured the restless pulse of the American underground in the early 1980s. Michael Stipe's cryptic vocals added mystery, almost daring the listener to decipher his words. This deliberate obscurity became a trademark, drawing fans closer. It was rock that thrived on atmosphere, not clarity. Peter Buck's chiming guitar riff pushed the song forward, blending urgency with subtle beauty. The track's production was understated, yet that gave it authenticity. It felt organic, like a broadcast sent from a garage to the world. There was nothing flashy, only sincerity and invention. It stood apart from polished mainstream acts, cementing R.E.M. as leaders of a new wave of alternative rock. Decades later, its freshness remains. Radio Free Europe was more than an opener, it was a manifesto of independence, setting the tone for one of the most influential careers in rock. This debut track gave voice to a generation searching for its own language. I Wanna Be Adored introduced the Stone Roses with a haunting declaration. The slow build, from faint bass line to soaring guitar, created tension that held listeners captive. The opener was less about speed and more about atmosphere. It demanded patience, then rewarded it with explosive release. Ian Brown's vocals floated above the music, cool and detached. His refrain of wanting adoration was both vulnerable and defiant, capturing the mood of late 80s Manchester. It felt like a hymn for disillusioned youth, searching for identity through sound. The guitar textures from John Squire added layers of beauty, shifting between delicate notes and walls of sound. Paired with Rennie's precise drumming, the track became hypnotic. This opener blurred the line between rock anthem and spiritual invocation. As the song unfolded, it set the tone for an album that would define British rock in the 90s. Its legacy is in its simplicity and its resonance. I Wanna Be Adored remains an eternal symbol of longing turned into power. Weezer began their self-titled debut with My Name is Jonas, a track that combined crunchy guitars with confessional storytelling. The song's acoustic intro was a deceptive calm before the eruption of distortion. It was an opener that immediately showcased the band's quirky blend of sincerity and noise. Rivers Cuomo's lyrics reflected both frustration and humor, shaping a narrative about personal struggles and resilience. His delivery was unpolished yet deeply relatable. The track was an anthem for misfits who found comfort in imperfection. Instrumentally, the band balanced melody with chaos. The guitar riffs were playful yet heavy, and Patrick Wilson's drumming provided unstoppable momentum. This mix gave the track a unique dynamic, never too polished, always honest. My Name is Jonas didn't just open an album, it introduced a generation to the spirit of 90s alternative rock. Its energy and vulnerability set the stage for Weezer's lasting influence. Metallica exploded into the world with Hit the Lights On, Kill 'Em All. From the very first note, the song screamed aggression, speed, and raw force. It was a battle cry that announced the arrival of thrash metal. The riffs, sharp and relentless, tore through the air like lightning. James Hetfield's vocals carried grit and fury, while Lars Ulrich's drumming pushed everything to maximum velocity. The track captured youthful rage and hunger, channeling it into pure sound. What made it revolutionary was its lack of compromise. There was no attempt to soften the edges. It was chaotic, primal, and electrifying. Listeners were thrown into a storm of volume and intensity. Hit the Lights remains one of the most defining openers in heavy music. It set the tone not just for an album, but for an entire movement that would dominate metal for decades. Nine Inch Nails opened Pretty Hate Machine with Head Like a Hole, a furious mix of industrial noise and irresistible hooks. From the first pounding beat, it became a war cry against control and greed. Trent Reznor blended anger with melody in a way that felt both brutal and addictive. The song's sharp electronic textures collided with heavy guitars, creating a mechanical storm that refused to let up. Reznor's shouted refrain, "Bow down before the one you serve," became an anthem of defiance. It was rage sculpted into rhythm, turning rebellion into a danceable riot. Unlike many of its contemporaries, this opener had the immediacy of pop while carrying the weight of metal. It was dark but strangely inviting, a gateway into the industrial underground. It dared to turn fury into something catchy, proving destruction could groove. Head Like a Hole remains one of the most recognizable songs of the 1990s. It was not just an opener, it was a manifesto that launched Nine Inch Nails into rock history. Creedence Clearwater Revival's debut opened with "I Put a Spell on You," a cover that carried both reverence and reinvention. John Fogerty's voice turned the song into a swampy, raw declaration of obsession. The track's primal force announced a band ready to channel blues, rock, and roots into something timeless. The guitars snarled with grit, laying down a rhythm both heavy and hypnotic. The drums drove forward like a heartbeat, while Fogerty's wail gave the performance an almost supernatural energy. It was rock at its most elemental, unpolished yet unforgettable. This version stripped away polish and replaced it with intensity. Creedence made the song their own by infusing it with southern bite and raw fire. Listeners were caught between menace and beauty, unable to turn away. The opener set the tone for a career filled with iconic riffs and Americana storytelling. "I Put a Spell on You" ensured Creedence Clearwater Revival would not be ignored from the very first note.
Let the good times roll.
The Cars began their self-titled debut with "Good Times Roll," a sleek, ironic anthem that redefined modern rock. Its polished production and detached delivery made it sound both futuristic and effortless. The band announced themselves as masters of cool detachment wrapped in irresistible hooks. Rick Ocasek's vocals were icy but playful.
Let them make you a clown.
Delivered over a landscape of crisp guitars and shimmering synths. The song seemed to celebrate fun while mocking its emptiness, a contradiction that gave it lasting intrigue. It was pop music with sharp edges, stylish yet sly. The production by Roy Thomas Baker emphasized clarity and space, letting each instrument shine without crowding the others. Every beat, every chord felt intentional, like architecture built for sound. It was precision disguised as spontaneity. Good Times Roll proved that rock could be glossy without losing bite. It remains one of the greatest debut statements, capturing the cool confidence of a band ahead of its time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Ramones introduced themselves with Blitzkrieg Bop, a 2-minute blast that forever changed rock music. From its opening chant, it was pure chaos turned into unity. The energy was raw, reckless, and utterly contagious. The guitars were stripped of excess, playing at breakneck speed with no interest in solos or complexity. Joey Ramone's voice carried both sneer and charm, giving the anthem its unmistakable personality. This was punk boiled down to its essence, fast, loud, and fun. The track's simplicity was its brilliance. A few chords, shouted vocals, and relentless rhythm became the foundation for an entire movement. It sounded like rebellion anyone could join. Blitzkrieg Bop remains one of the most iconic openers in history. It was not just the start of an album, it was the birth cry of punk rock itself. Which song's energy still fuels your days? Van Morrison's Brown-Eyed Girl opened his debut Blowin' Your Mind with a rush of joy. It was a song that seemed to bottle summer itself. Its upbeat guitar strums and sweet lyrics made it instantly unforgettable. Morrison's voice was warm and playful, telling a story of youthful love with a sense of ease. The chorus carried a lightness that invited everyone to sing along. It was rock turned into memory, both personal and universal. What made it extraordinary was its ability to blend simplicity with magic. The melody was straightforward, yet it felt eternal, as if it had always existed. The track radiated happiness without pretense, a rare quality in rock. Brown-Eyed Girl became more than a hit. It was an opener that launched Van Morrison's solo career and gave the world a classic that still shines across generations. These debut rock openers were more than just songs, they were revolutions. From Pink Floyd's Cosmic Journeys to the Ramones' Raw Punch, each first track set the tone for everything that followed. They were bold statements of vision and rebellion, proving that a single opening note could change the course of rock history forever. Even decades later, their spark still burns bright. These songs remind us that beginnings can be the most unforgettable chapters, carrying the energy of risk and the promise of something timeless. Which opener still sparks your first thrill? Share it below, and do not forget to subscribe to keep reliving the moments that shaped rock's eternal story.